Hague-bound, Kenya's deputy president upbeat ahead of the opening of his ICC trial. Claiming responsibility, an extremist Islamic group from Sinai says it is behind the failed assassination attempt of Egypt's interior minister. And education for all. Somalia begins initiative to boost its children's access to formal learning. This is Africa Live on CCTV News with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program, Somalia slush funds. The Somali government moves to clear its name over central bank funds. And Egypt dominates a 5th edition of the African Championships as Madagascar Wushu Games come to a close. And we begin in Egypt, where in a turn of events, an extremist Islamic group from the Sinai claims responsibility for conducting Thursday's assassination attempt targeting Egypt's Interior Minister Mohammed Ibrahim. An internet video shared on social media shows a statement for a group called Anasar Beit al-Maqdis. It means Victorians for Jerusalem. The video explained that it was in fact a suicide bombing. The statement said, "We apologize to all Muslims and Egypt's martyrs, particularly for not killing this criminal tyrant this time, and we vow that the attacks of jihadists will be repeated on him and on his likes." End of quote. Now, this is the first time the group claims an attack outside the Sinai Peninsula. Ibrahim's attack was the first assassination attempt in years and the third attempt on an interior minister in the country's history. Well, meanwhile, Egyptian military helicopters hit suspected militant hideouts in North Sinai for a second day Sunday. The military has poured troops and armored vehicles into Sinai to quell the insurgency that surged after the army overthrew Islamist President Mohamed Morsi on July the 3rd. Now, the army described the operation as the largest military assault to purge Sinai of terrorism. Let's now cross over to CCTV's Adel Makhroui, who is joining us there from Cairo. Adel, what is the latest on the attack in the Sinai?
Well, the armed forces on its official page on the social networks, it stated that the process of chasing terrorists, as they name it, is still ongoing in Sinai. They say that so far they have located 118 terrorist cells and destroyed them. They also destroyed 3 warehouses full of weapons. They said that there are heavy artillery as well, 33 vehicles equipped with heavy artillery and machine guns. This comes as a series or the total results of the attacks and the missions that have been conducted by the armed forces in Sinai so far, and they say that they will continue. Another statement says that very soon they will announce that Sinai is entirely safe. The armed forces says in that statement that at least 98% of the terrorist groups and cells in Sinai have been eliminated. They expect that they will have a solid control over the peninsula within the coming weeks.
All right, CCTV's Adel Makhroui joining us there from Cairo. Thank you. Well, let's take you to some stories developing here in Kenya, where Deputy President William Ruto has left the country ahead of the opening of his trial at the International Criminal Court on Tuesday. Now, the trials of Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto are worrying some of the communities that felt the brunt of a post-election violence more than 5 years ago. The 2 men are accused of orchestrating the violence. Now, members of their 2 ethnic groups fear the course of justice could open old wounds. Kenyatta and Ruto have long insisted they would continue to cooperate to clear their names from charges of crimes against humanity. A recent decision by Kenya to withdraw from the International Criminal Court will take a year to implement and will not halt existing trials. For the ICC, the first trial involving a sitting head of state scheduled for November is its biggest test to date. The institution, set up in 1998, faces mounting opposition here in Africa, where it is seen as biased for having mainly prosecuted Africans. Well, as Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto jets off to face ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, prosecution and defense teams are holding a press conference on the trial, which is set to begin on Tuesday. Well, let's now go live to the International Criminal Court in The Hague, where the briefing addressed by Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, Court Registrar Herman von Hebel, and victims' legal representative William Nderitu has begun.
Persons. And the record of this court and the records of other courts and tribunals of an international nature have shown that guilt is not presumed. Innocence is the presumption on which judges work. And it is that presumption that will carry through also in this particular case. Trials, and that is often a criticism of international tribunals, take a long time. Often people are saying that justice is slow. I would not agree with that. I don't think that justice is slow. I think that justice is a very careful process, and that it therefore will take adequate time and really sufficient time to make sure that parties really have the time to present the evidence, for the prosecutor to be able to present her evidence, but also for the defense to be able to challenge that evidence and to present whatever they think is necessary that will serve the interests of their own clients. This work cannot be done without the cooperation of the country itself concerned, without the cooperation of Kenya. And as the court has repeatedly been saying, we do see that the accused persons have so far continued to work and to work closely with the court in order to ensure that preparations were on track and also that the trial is able to get started tomorrow. In that respect also, and in a more wider context, we know and we are of course very much aware of the fact that the start of this trial has led to a lot of discussion and political discussion in Kenya. We've recently seen, of course, discussions going on in Parliament leading to a motion to withdraw from the ICC statute. Of course, for the court, that is a matter of grave concern, not because of the fact that Kenya, as a sovereign state, would not be entitled to do so, but because of the fact that the fundamental principle underlying our ICC statute, the fight against impunity, that this would simply be a wrong message in that respect. We believe that once states have accepted to become a state party, that they should stay within the system, they should work with the system, with the court, that other states parties work closely together in order to make sure that the court can effectively function. And of course that we would rather see more states becoming a state party rather than that states parties were to withdraw. But obviously by the end of the day that is a sovereign political decision by a state, and any state of course is entitled to do so. However, that being said, at the very same time it is very clear that any decision for a withdrawal will not have any effect whatsoever on the cases brought before the court so far. There are procedures in the Rome Statute that clearly define how any decision to withdraw would further be impacting on the work. But for our side, the procedure that is laid out shows that it is only upon an official notification of the state after the internal decision-making has come to an end, a notification to the United Nations that has to take place, and only 1 year later the withdrawal will become effective. However, and that is already clearly laid out in the statute itself, this does not have an effect on any ongoing investigations. It is only that for the future, any other crimes that in the future may or could have been committed in Kenya would not be subject to the jurisdiction of the court. And there again, that is why we hope that Kenya will not continue with this process because of the fact that we don't think that that is the right message. The victims of the future should not feel that they are without redress to this court and to international justice. I would like to finish off here with my comments, and of course, as has been indicated, I'm more than happy to take any questions from your side. Thank you very much.
Okay, we open the floor now for questions to the registrar. You are kindly invited.
All right, an ongoing press conference there by the ICC Court Registrar Herman von Hebel on the trial that is set to begin tomorrow of Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto. We'll take a short break here on Africa Live, but coming up, education for all. Somalia begins initiative to boost its children's access to formal learning. Egypt's presidency has begun a political dialogue tour with major political powers. And after this tour, interim President Adli Mansour will personally meet all politicians to finalize the details of the country's political roadmap. Adel Mahrui has more.
A prominent socialist movement known as the Popular Current was a main stop for these dialogues. Ahmed al-Mislimani, the interim president's spokesman, who is leading the talks, stressed on the importance of unity to stand against foreign and domestic enemies.
I'm aware there are enemies for the revolution, nationally and globally. They are working to stagger the roadmap. When the president announced his intention to go to the U.S. General Assembly, some U.S. groups coordinated with anti-revolution groups here to plan a mass protest against his visit.
It was a reference to the Muslim Brotherhood. After losing many Islamic powers supporting ousted President Morsi, the presidency can't afford to lose more. So it was tolerant to the president of the popular stream, Hamdin Sabahi's words, when he criticized the government's performance.
Without social justice, there is no stability and no achievement for the revolution's aspirations. I want this government from taking this issue lightly. Instead of decreasing the prices of basic goods for the poor, I heard some villages didn't even get their share. This is not acceptable.
Sabahi was the third in the 2012 presidential race, was just 4 points behind Morsi. He is now the strongest candidate so far running for the next race. On Sunday, Mislimani is scheduled to meet with the Dastur party led by Mohammed al-Baradei, the former vice president who resigned after evacuating pro-Morsi camps by force.
To avoid the categorization of a military coup, political powers, including the Popular Current, recommended to the interim president to hold presidential elections right after the referendum, to transfer power to an elected authority as soon as possible. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
Well, let's now look at other stories making the headlines across the continent at this hour. Mali's President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta revealed his new cabinet on Sunday. It will be tasked with reviving the West African nation following a turbulent 18 months that saw a coup and a rebellion plunge its main gold exports into crisis. The announcement of the 34-member cabinet on state television follows last week's nomination of Umar Tatamli, a technocrat and senior official with the regional central bank, as prime minister. Keïta, who pledged to put technical competence ahead of party affiliation, included only one of the 22 first-round presidential candidates who supported him in the August 11th runoff. His cabinet replaces a transitional authority established to lead Mali to presidential elections. The elections were seen as a necessary step to restoring democratic order and unlocking billions of dollars in foreign aid. In Nigeria, fresh clashes in the country's restive northeast on Sunday led to the killing of 5 Boko Haram Islamists and 13 fighters from a vigilante group, according to a state government official. Garba Gamdu, an aide to the state governor, said members of the civilian militia responded to reports that the Islamist extremists were planning to attack the town of Beni Sheikh in Borno State, Boko Haram's stronghold. The insurgents arrived in the early hours of Sunday morning and a gunfight broke out, according to an account corroborated by several vigilante fighters. The military has applauded the emergence in recent months of civilian fighters, describing them as a helpful tool which has boosted the military's efforts against Boko Haram. And finally, to Somalia, where a campaign aimed at bringing 1 million children to school started on Sunday. And this came as the world marked the 48th International Literacy Day. The launching ceremony of the Go to School initiative was held in the capital city of Mogadishu. The initiative, launched by the Somali government with the support of international organizations including UNICEF, seeks to help 1/4 of Somalia's children who have had no access to education or have gone to school. The project includes the repairing and construction of school buildings and youth training facilities. It also includes training of teachers. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, the representative of the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund to Somalia, Sikandar Khan, and other officials attended the event. Africa's business news is coming up next, including Somalia slush funds. The Somali government moves to clear its name over central bank funds.